Welcome back to Home Studio, Winter 2024. This is our second video in our Flask MySQL video series using PythonAnywhere. And in this video and the next video, we're going to be working with phpMyAdmin, which is a database management tool, and we're going to use a free version online. If you're familiar with that, you might be able to skip over these two videos, but we're going to create a new database, and then we're going to export it as an SQL file and use that in PythonAnywhere. So that'll be coming up in the next two videos starting here. Now to get started, you're going to go to phpMyAdmin.net, which is a free online demo, a sandbox that you could work in. Come here and try demo. It's free. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to create an account or anything. Now it's open, so it's completely open. So whatever you do, everybody else can see it. So if I go here, try demo. Now it comes into phpMySQL initially. They have a lot more here, and where I like to go is the MariaDB, because it's just a little more hidden. There's databases here. Now, anybody can create these. There's World Database, there's SoccerFed. I had one called SpongeBob. I made it, I deleted it. Now, you're going to do that too. Now, World is one I've used in other courses, and they have it on here. And basically, the way it works is here's a database, and here are the tables. These are tables within a database. Now, just to make it simple, if I go to I don't want to go to city because I could see there's 4,000 rows. I don't want to go to country language. That has like 1,000 rows. But if I go to country, there's only like 300 or so. Now, I don't think those are all the countries in the world. I think there's more countries than that. But there's 239 in this database. And basically, it shows you this database, and it's running an SQL query. Select all from country. Country is the table, and it's showing you all this. Now, if you work in WordPress, and you have that hosted on a server like GoDaddy or Bluehost or something like that, you'll have access to phpMyAdmin. So this gives you a little bit experience of just looking at it. And you can see your WordPress database and change anything that you need to on it, or at least get into it if you need to. Now, this is kind of a GUI approach to get into a database instead of just writing SQL code. Now, it writes SQL code. Here it is. But you don't have to do that, because we just looked at everything, and this is showing when you select everything what it looks like. And we're not going to edit anything in here. We're not even going to work with country. You can even export this out of here, but you can certainly look at the way this is set up. This is the structure of the table country, and you can see that these are the fields or columns. Sometimes they're called fields, sometimes they're called columns. Usually they're called columns in SQL, but they're really fields. They're at the top, kind of like an Excel spreadsheet. So these are the categories. So they have a code that you don't really do anything with. Sometimes that's auto-generated. Sometimes an ID can be auto-generated. But then they have column names: name, continent, region, surface area, all this kind of stuff here. We're not going to do anything like that, but we are going to do something with SpongeBob. Now, even here, they have something called enum. That means you have a drop-down list for continent, because there's only so many continents. How many are there? 9 or something? There's more now than when I grew up counting continents, but they have a little drop-down, I think, when you go into continent. So you could go there and sort through whatever continent if you want to add something. So there's browse, there's structure, there's SQL. You could do any kind of queries in here. You could go in here and do select all from country where, and let me just backspace here, where population and is less than 5,000. Let's try that. Select all from country where population is less than 5,000. I don't know if there's less than 5,000 people in any country, but there must be. So here's an SQL query. And then I'm going to go down here and hit go. And how many did I get? There's 16 total. So that was an SQL query. This is the code, but I just went in here and kind of looked. So this is displaying all the records. Now these are the records in an SQL query, where in this thing, they're called documents. In MongoDB, they're called documents. Every kind of record in here is called a document in the collection, because it's not really a table. They're key value pairs. But in here, these are considered records. I think the technical term for MySQL is rows. So rows, records, columns, fields really mean the same thing. But I guess if we're going to stay technical to SQL, that would be rows and then columns. Columns go along the top, these things, and then rows are the records going down. So just know that about SQL. So the categories are the columns, the rows are the things that are in there, that were added to there or originally there. So, and they're subdivided so that you can go through and run queries of everything from surface area to region to continent to size to population, all these kind of things. And what you're going to do is create a new database. So we're going to do a SpongeBob one. You could call it SB, or you could spell out SpongeBob, whatever you want to do. And I'm going to go to databases. And it's real easy to do this. Now you could do this with code, but in here with this front end, you could just give it a name. Now don't put any spaces in, don't even make anything capitalized, although tables in MySQL a lot of times are capitalized. The name of the table is capitalized, but I'm not going to capitalize the database. So I'm just going to call it SB, and I'm going to put RMH. So I'll just put SB RMH. So that shouldn't mean anything to anybody, but SB stands for SpongeBob. So I'll just put SP-RMH, and I think we can have a dash in there. And actually, you know what? Let's put an underscore just in case. I don't want to get messed up by saying put a dash in there because it looks like here they're using underscores, information schema. These are default parts of MySQL, performance schema, information schema. So let's do an underscore like that. You could say SpongeBob underscore and put your initials, but instead of a dash, let's just do that. So that's the database name. Now that's not going to do anything until we actually put a table in it. So I'm just going to hit create. That's easy enough. Just created a database. You'll see it down there. There it is. That's mine for the whole world to see. And you can see that before I do anything, I have to create a table. So it's prompting me right away to make a table. And let's put 5 columns in here. We're going to do 5. It puts 4 by default. We'll put 5 columns and give it a table name, and I'm going to call it characters. Now, characters might be hard to spell, so just you could do char like that, or you could spell out characters. I'm going to do a capital C because table names in MySQL a lot of times have a capital letter starting them out, but no spaces, anything like that. And if you want to just put character or car, that's fine. So 5 columns. Remember, columns are the categories along the top. Rows are going to be what we put in them. So here's our table, and I'll hit create. Now, what this is doing, it's asking for column names. So we're going to give column names. And the first thing we'll do is we'll just put ID. And we'll make them all lowercase. ID, we'll put F name, L name, and we'll do species. Let's just do color. And if you wanted to add one more, you can add it after that. So I already have this, and they have an add here. So table name, they have add. Let's say you want to put age. Now, I don't know what ages are. That would give us 6 columns. Right now we have 5. We have ID, we have name, we have color. Let's do age. So I'll add one more. And it just added another one after the last one. I'll put age. Now, again, you can look up the ages of these. Now, this is the type. Now, that means you're used to type from programming languages and things like that. Integer, string. Now, for an ID, we're going to leave it as integer. For first name, these are all going to be strings, but they call them varchar. So we'll just do varchar. For all of these, varchar. Now, you could sometimes do something called enum, which is a drop-down list. Like for gender, you could do a drop-down list of male, female, and although these days you could have a bunch of things in there, or nothing, or if it's a computer, then it may not be male or female or whatever. But we'll skip gender for now. But keep in mind, you can have little drop-down lists to choose from, so you don't have to type it in. But color, we'll just put varchar, and age, you could do varchar, and you could just do int as well. So I'll just leave it as int. You could put the amount of characters, age, no one's going to be more than 100. Color, a lot of times 30 is a default for all of these kind of varchars. Although you don't have to put anything in, but I'll put in 30. Nothing's going to be more than that. No one's going to have a 30 name. And actually, I don't want to do anything here. So for ID, I'm not putting anything in. Now, you can scroll across here. I'll go up and scroll across. Now, you don't really have to worry about anything other than I want to go something here that says A_I. And you might be like, well, what the hell is that? That's auto increment. I'm going to check auto increment because that will give me an ID number. And I'm also going to leave this on primary. And you don't have to put anything in here when it auto increments. And I think that's it. I don't think we have to do anything else here. We have our length values. We're not putting anything default in here. And again, we don't have to put anything for a length of ID. It'll just auto-generate an ID. So this is our table that we're creating. We're creating the table structure. So we have columns, 6 columns, because I added age at the end. We had 5 initially. So the first one's ID, first name, last name, species, color. Notice I'm doing all these in lowercase. The only thing uppercase is characters, and I may put their names in uppercase because they're formal names. So that's about it. Now, when you're done here, to create your table, you're just going to hit save. Don't worry about anything else right now. I'll just hit save. So there's my structure. Now there's nothing in it right now. I didn't insert anything into my table. There's no rows. You could call them records, but rows is really what they're called. I have no rows in my database right now. So let's do that, and we could do that fairly easy with phpMyAdmin. And we're going to continue that in the next video.